Welcome back to the channel Coins Buyers. Today's exciting video where we dive deep into the fascinating world of American coin collecting and explore one of the most mysterious and valuable coins that has caught the attention of collectors and treasure hunters around the world, the 1952 D wheat penny, a coin that on the surface might seem like just another small piece of copper change from the past, but in reality has a story of rarity, history, and astonishing value attached to it, with some examples being discussed in the numismatic community for values as high as $723 million, a mind-blowing difference from its humble 1-cent face value. And in this video we are going to unfold the journey of this coin, its history, why the 1952 D mint mark matters, the errors and striking mistakes that turn an ordinary cent into an extraordinary treasure, and the possibilities that make this penny so incredibly valuable today. So stay with us as we take you through a long journey of discovery and knowledge that might even inspire you to check your own pocket change more carefully, because who knows, you might already have a piece of history worth millions sitting quietly in a jar at home. The Wheat Penny series was introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, becoming the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure instead of symbolic imagery, and this design featuring the portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and the wheat stalks on the reverse ran until 1958, making it one of the most popular and longest-running series of 1-cent coins in American history, with the 1952 D version being minted in Denver. And while millions of these coins were struck, not all were identical, because minting errors, striking mistakes, double dies, repunched mint marks, and other anomalies turned a few of these coins into pieces of unimaginable worth, creating a story that still excites collectors even decades later. The 1952 D wheat penny is normally just a copper coin weighing 3.11 grams and composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. But what separates the ordinary examples from the legendary multimillion-dollar ones is the presence of unusual errors such as off-center strikes where the design is misaligned, double dies where the lettering or numbers appear double giving the coin a dramatic and collectible look, or mint mark errors where the D from Denver was accidentally stamped more than once or in the wrong position, creating a repunched mint mark variety that instantly draws attention from experts. And sometimes planchet errors where the blank coin was not prepared properly lead to striking on a cracked or imperfect surface, adding even more value due to rarity. Collectors are always searching for coins with such features, because while ordinary 1952 D pennies might only be worth a few cents in circulated condition and perhaps a few dollars in uncirculated condition, those with errors or unique striking issues skyrocket in value, and in some extremely rare instances stories circulate in the numismatic world about examples fetching estimates of hundreds of millions due to their extreme rarity and the fact that wealthy collectors are willing to pay astonishing prices to secure unique one-of-a-kind examples, which is where the legendary figure of $723 million comes into the discussion, making this penny one of the most talked about and mysterious coins among enthusiasts. The fascination lies not only in the errors themselves but also in the possibilities, because coins struck in the mid-20th century were produced in huge numbers but also faced challenges with quality control, manual adjustments to the dies, and occasional mistakes that slipped through unnoticed, meaning there is always a chance that an unsuspecting person might find an extraordinary coin while sifting through old jars of change or inherited collections, and that dream of turning a penny into life-changing wealth keeps collectors motivated and constantly searching. Imagine a coin that cost the US government only a fraction of a cent to produce and was intended to circulate for small transactions suddenly becoming a multi-million-dollar collectible simply because of an extra punch on the mint mark or a doubled word on the motto. That is the magic of coin collecting, and why the 1952 D wheat penny is regarded as such a special part of numismatic history, because it represents both the ordinary everyday life of Americans in the 1950s and the extraordinary world of errors and rarities that turn simple objects into treasures. Beyond just errors, the history and background of the coin add further value as it reflects a post-war America, a time when the economy was booming, people were saving change in jars, and coin collecting as a hobby was beginning to rise in popularity. And within that cultural moment, the wheat penny stood as a symbol of Lincoln's enduring legacy, the strength of American currency, and the artistry of the U.S. mint. And when combined with the excitement of rare mint errors, it creates a perfect storm for historical and financial significance. Today, stories of 1952 D pennies selling for astronomical sums create both curiosity and inspiration, encouraging people to learn more about how to identify rare and error coins, because details matter in this world. Things like a small doubling on the date 1952, a shifted D mint mark, an unusual strike on the wheat stalks, or even a subtle color variation in the metal can mean the difference between pocket change and generational wealth, and it is that possibility that keeps the legend of this Coin alive. So next time you come across an old wheat penny, especially one marked 1952D, look at it closely under good light, examine the mint mark, the date, the lettering, the wheat design, and the overall strike quality, because one small mistake from decades ago might just turn out to be your gateway into the world of million-dollar treasures, and who knows? Maybe you too will be the lucky owner of a coin that collectors value at over $700 million, a simple piece of copper that carries history, rarity, mystery, and unimaginable worth, truly making the 1952D wheat penny a legend in American coin collecting. We are going deep into one of the most talked about and extraordinary coins in American numismatic history, the wheat penny from 1945, a coin that might look like an ordinary 1-cent piece at first glance but has become famous and legendary among collectors for its hidden details, minting errors, and mysterious features that can turn a simple copper penny into something worth hundreds of millions of dollars, with some of the rarest examples being valued as high as $611 million, which is a figure that blows the mind when compared to its humble face value of just 1 cent, and this story is not just about a coin but about history, mistakes, possibilities, and the incredible hunt that collectors all over the world continue to chase even today. So let's talk about what makes the 1945 wheat penny so special and why its story continues to shine in the world of coin collecting and treasure hunting. The 1945 wheat penny belongs to the Lincoln cent series, featuring the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side and 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse, a design that was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth and remained in circulation until 1958, and during the mid-1940s these coins were struck in huge numbers, especially because the United States Mint was producing billions of coins to meet the needs of a growing economy during and after World War II, with 1945 alone producing over 1 billion pennies across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. But despite these massive mintages, which would normally mean these coins are very common and not particularly valuable, what makes this year stand out are the unique minting mistakes and errors that slipped through production and found their way into circulation, turning some examples of the 1945 wheat penny into legendary collectibles that can reach astronomical values. Among the most discussed errors of the 1945 wheat penny are double die strikes, off-center strikes, clipped planches, repunched mint marks, and coins struck on the wrong metal planches, each of these adding a fascinating twist to the coin story because in the coin collecting world errors are like treasure maps, each mistake telling us something about how the coin was made and why it is different from millions of others that look the same. And for the 1945 penny, one of the most dramatic errors involves coins that were accidentally struck on leftover steel planches from 1943, a year when the US Mint temporarily used steel coated in zinc instead of copper due to the war effort when copper was needed for ammunition and equipment, so discovering a 1945 penny struck on a steel planchet would be a shocking and rare find and could command millions at auction. Another important variety comes from the repunched mint mark errors, especially those from Denver and San Francisco mints, where the letter D or S was hand-punched onto the die and sometimes struck more than once, creating a doubled or even tripled appearance under magnification. These tiny details are often overlooked by casual observers, but expert collectors and graders prize them highly. And because these mistakes were not intentional and exist in very small numbers, they drive up the rarity and therefore the value of the coin dramatically. In fact, some examples with dramatic doubling or mint mark repunching have been reported to fetch extraordinary sums that fuel the ongoing mythos of the 1945 wheat penny being worth hundreds of millions of dollars in unique cases. On top of mint errors, there are also condition factors that play a huge role in value, because coins that survive in uncirculated or mint state condition with their original red luster intact are extremely scarce, and when you combine pristine condition with a rare error, you get the perfect recipe for a record-breaking auction price. This is why grading companies and collectors carefully analyze 1945 wheat pennies under magnification, weighing them, measuring them, and checking for unusual traits that could separate a multi-million-dollar coin from an ordinary penny you might still find in circulation today. The idea that a coin originally intended to be just 1 cent could end up being valued at $611 million comes from the perfect storm of rarity, condition, historical significance, collector demand, and the mythology that builds around certain dates and errors. And while not every 1945 wheat penny will be worth anywhere near that amount, the possibility that one could be hiding in a box of old coins or in a forgotten jar is what excites treasure hunters and keeps this story alive. The wheat penny series as a whole carries deep historical importance since it represents not only Abraham Lincoln and his legacy but also a period of American history that included the Great Depression, World War II, and the post-war boom, and owning a piece of that history, especially one with an era or unique minting story, gives collectors a sense of connection to the past that goes far beyond money. Yet the staggering values reported for certain rare examples of the 1945 penny cannot be ignored and continue to spark curiosity, debate, and excitement among collectors and the general public alike. Imagine finding one of these rare treasures tucked away in a drawer or passed down from a family member, realizing that what seemed like a common coin is in fact a once-in-a-lifetime discovery capable of changing your fortune. That is the kind of dream that keeps the coin collecting world so fascinating, and why the 1945 wheat penny continues to be one of the most talked about coins of the 20th century. So whether you are a seasoned collector or just someone who loves stories of hidden treasures, the 1945 wheat penny represents the ultimate reminder that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, and that even a single cent can carry a story worth hundreds of millions. Where we dive deep into one of the most fascinating treasures of American coinage history, the 1951 wheat penny from the United States, a coin that on the surface looks like an ordinary 1-cent piece but holds within its copper design a story of minting history, errors, scarcity, and numismatic wonder that has led collectors around the world to appraise it not merely at its face value of 1 cent but at an unbelievable and staggering worth of $563 million because of the combination of unique circumstances, mistakes, minting varieties, and the endless intrigue that surrounds rare coins and the mysteries they hold. So let us unravel why this coin is so much more than a penny in your pocket and how it transformed into a prized artifact of American culture and wealth. The 1951 wheat penny was struck at the Denver Mint during a period when the United States was emerging from World War II and moving into a new era of industrial growth and economic expansion, yet the coin's simple copper alloy design carried forward the iconic Lincoln portrait on the obverse side, first introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln on the centennial of his birth, while the reverse showcased the classic wheat ears on each side of the words 1 cent, United States of America, and E pluribus unum, giving it the nickname wheat penny that collectors still cherish today. But beneath that simplicity lay the chance for imperfection, and those imperfections are precisely what have fueled its astronomical value, with mint mark errors, double die strikes, off-center strikes, and die cracks creating highly unusual variations that collectors scramble to find. The Denver Mint in 1951 produced millions of pennies, yet it is the extremely rare examples with striking anomalies that separate themselves from the common ones, where a misplaced D mint mark, punched slightly out of alignment, or even repunched mint marks where the D appears doubled or tripled, have made these coins legendary, as the minting process at the time was far from flawless, with hand-punched dies and mechanical limitations leading to irregularities that today are seen as priceless treasures. Furthermore, the 1951 wheat penny has been associated with off-metal errors, where a small handful of coins were allegedly struck on planchets intended for other denominations, such as a dime or foreign coin blank, resulting in a penny that weighs differently or carries unusual coloration, and these rare off-metal pieces are among the most sought-after anomalies in the hobby, with record-setting auction prices driving the story of this coin's immense value. The fascination grows when considering how circulation, wear, storage, and preservation affect the desirability of these coins, because a mint-state condition 1951 wheat penny with a major error is exponentially rarer than one that has seen decades of use, and collectors across the globe fiercely compete to secure high-grade examples certified by grading services, which adds to their mystique and astronomical valuations. Imagine a simple coin struck in 1951 to represent just 1 cent, traveling through pockets, purses, and cash registers, yet a single misstep in the Denver Mint's production line transformed that tiny disc of copper into a multi-million-dollar rarity, so that today when experts evaluate its worth, they look beyond the face value and see a coin carrying history, scarcity, and a level of demand that has elevated its place in numismatic folklore. The 1951 wheat penny has inspired countless discussions among collectors and historians, with theories about why certain mint errors occurred and how many may still remain hidden in old jars of change or estate collections, and this possibility adds to the excitement, because anyone holding a jar of pennies from decades past could unknowingly possess a coin that is part of this multi-million-dollar narrative, making the hunt for the 1951 wheat penny more thrilling than simply studying history in books. Another reason for the immense value is the nostalgia tied to wheat pennies themselves, as they were the last era before the Lincoln Memorial reverse was introduced in 1959, marking them as a symbol of earlier American coinage, and when combined with a mint mark error or misstrike, they become not just currency but artifacts bridging everyday life with the extraordinary quirks of history. Collectors value stories, and the story of the 1951 wheat penny is one of how imperfection leads to perfection in the eyes of numismatists, as each flaw is a fingerprint of the minting process, a reminder that human hands and machines working together can create unintended masterpieces that surpass anything they intended, so the coin becomes a narrative piece as much as a monetary one. It is this narrative that drives auction houses to set incredible price tags and wealthy collectors to compete fiercely, pushing the valuation into the hundreds of millions, with the 1951 standing as proof that a single cent can hold more value than entire treasuries if it carries the right combination of rarity, error, and demand. When you think about how most pennies are dismissed as small change, almost invisible in daily life, the story of the 1951 wheat penny teaches us that hidden within the most ordinary objects can be extraordinary wealth, and it's this idea that keeps coin hunting alive for enthusiasts worldwide, with the possibility that the next time you check your change you might uncover a coin whose worth defies imagination, a penny that collectors dream of, one that has turned into an astonishing symbol of how history, mistakes, and rarity converge to create value that no one could have predicted at the time of its minting. So as we look at the 1951 wheat penny and its staggering $563 million valuation, we are reminded that coins are more than metal. They are storytellers, time travelers, and silent witnesses to the eras in which they were struck, and when the mint left behind its errors and imperfections in 1951. It unknowingly gifted the world one of the most prized collectibles in American history, a coin that will forever capture the imagination of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters who continue to seek that 1 cent piece worth far beyond its face value.